Naracharita Vedya Naracharita Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanarabandhu Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanarabandhu Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanarabandhu Sri Guru Sindhu Adamajanarabandhu Lokanath, Lokera Jivana, Lokanath, Lokera Jivana, Lokanath, Lokera Jivana, Lokanath, Lokera Jivana, Naha Prabhu Koradoya, De Amore Padajaya, Ha Prabhu Koradoya. More Padajaya, ha ha, Prabhu Koradoya, De Amore Padajaya, ha ha. ABS Skuship Tribubana, ABS Tribubana, ABS Skuship Tribubana, ABS Tribubana, the Prabhupada Bhattita Pavana, Jila Prabhupada Bhattita Pavana, Jila Prabhupada Bhattita Pavana, Jila Prabhupada Bhattita Pavana, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya, Jaya, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya, Jaya, Guru Dev, Jaya, Jaya, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya, Jaya, Guru Dev, Nama Om. Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Bristaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta, Swaminiti Namine Nama Om, Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Bristaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvasesa Shunyavadi Brashachadesha Tarane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvasesa Shunyavadi Prashachade Shatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrindaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya, Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya, Prabhupada, Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa.
Namo Namaha Tula. Radha Krishna's Seva Babo Eya Vilasi Yetomara Sharanamai Taravancha Purnahai Kripa Kori Koro Tare Vrindavana Basi Moraya Vilas Vilas Kunjediovas Nayaneribo Sada Yugalaruparasi Nivedanadaro Sakiranugata Koro Sevari Karadie Koro Nijudasi Dina Krishna Dase Koi Namora Hoy Dina Krishna Dase Koi Namora Hoy Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yena Basi Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yena Basi Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yena Basi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Yanigani Japabani Bamahatardani Ja Tani Tani Panasyanti Panakshina Pare Pare Yani kani cha prabhani brahmahatartani cha tani tani pranasyanti parakshana pare pare. Yani kani cha prabhani brahmahatartani cha tani tani pranasyanti parakshana pare pare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Devi, Jaya Tulsi Devi, Jaya Tulsi Devi, Jaya Tulsi Devi. Tulsi Devi, Jaya Tulsi Devi, Jaya Tulsi, Jaya Brinde, Jaya Brinde, Jaya Brinde, Jaya Shri Brinde. Jaya Brinde, Jaya Brinde, Jaya Shri Brinde. Vindayai Tulsi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Sacha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sachivachai Namo Namaha. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvarajgacharya Asta Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Hari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Gaura Premananda, Hari Hari Bolo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi, Guru, and Garanga. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, today is Srivas Pandit's appearance day, so I wanted to go over that, and if we have some time, we can go on to Srimad Bhagavatam, but I want to glorify these exalted devotees of the Lord, who are really the embodiment and the, what you call it, the live version of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, these personalities are just, really amazing. So we've heard these pastimes so many times, but inevitably it's really important to hear about them quite often as a reminder and an inspiration, because devotional life goes up and down. We have really wonderful times, maybe challenging times, maybe just like straightforward, nothing up and down kind of across the plateau. But hearing about these great devotees, then, no matter what situation we're in, we're reminded to be reconnected with the devotees who are the servants of the servants of the servants of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can inspire us in our own lives. So this is, I downloaded and pulled this off of ISKCON Desire Tree, and there was just a really nice flow and sharing of information on Srivas Pandit. So and this is something that I don't know, I didn't know. It shares, the first thing that it shares is Srivas led his brothers Sri Ram, Sri Nidhi, and Sripati in their devotional lives of singing Krishna's names, worshiping the Lord, and bathing thrice daily in the Ganges. And I don't, somehow in my memory, didn't remember or recall the fact that he actually had brothers. So Srivas Pandit was the fifth member of the Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara, and Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda lived in Navadvip before the advent of Lord Chaitanya. So Srivas led his brothers Sri Ram, Sri Nidhi, and Sri Pati in their devotional lives of singing Krishna's names, worshiping the Lord, bathing thrice daily in the Ganges. Meeting with Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, they studied Bhagavatam. So just imagine that these four personalities actually met Sri Advaita Prabhu. They studied Srimad Bhagavatam and prayed for the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And why did they pray? Because only an avatar of Krishna could reestablish Vaishnavism among the staunch atheists, logicians, and proud pundits harassing Nadia at the time, what to speak of the world. So Malini, who is the wife of Srivas, was a constant friend of Sachidev. So this is really giving to me what I really appreciated what they were sharing is making it a little bit more personal as far as the interrelationships that are going on in the dynamics, because that was something else that I didn't really, think about, but that Malini, who was Srivas's wife, was actually a constant friend of Sachi Devi, and she actually served Nimai, Lord Chaitanya, as a nurse. When Lord Vishrambar appeared, the hearts of all the devotees were filled with parental affection, Vatsalyabhav. Gaurchandra loved Malini and Srivas as a second mother and father. So again, start to build this relationship in your mind, because again, the whole point of Vaishnavism is to have a personal relationship with the Lord, to have a personal interaction. And so this can magnify this. Srivas Angam was located 200 yards north of Nimai's body or house. Srivas Pandit's palatial home, so here we are, we're talking neighbors, right? They're very close. They're only 200 yards to the north, very specific. And they had a palatial, large, comfortable room house, a high protective boundary wall, and lush, dense foliated gardens and groves. So start to imagine this. Every night, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and his dearest friends would enjoy ecstatic kirtans here and taste the mellows of Vrindavan. So this whole mood of Vrindavan and relationship with Krishna and the gopis and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan are taking place in this home of Srivas. And the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Lord, Gauranga is there and, beautiful kirtans and tasting this mellow of Vrindavan. So really alive and dynamic. And, you walking down the street, you may see this house, you can look at it, and then, think about what's going on inside. And, just imagining that one day being pure enough to join that kirtan, right? So here, the raging Muslim Qazi broke the sacred Madanga in his foolish attempt to stop Sri Krishna's Sankirtan movement. Henceforward, Srivasangam was known as Kolbanga Danga, a place where the Mridanga was broken. The Qazi passed an ordinance prohibiting Sankirtan. Violators would be converted to Muslim faith and lose their property. Although most Nadia Vasis, thank you, residents of Navadweep panicked over this, Srivas Pandit laughed at a fanatical law. Within Srivasangam, Lord Gorsundar showed his divine form to all his eternal associates. The house of Srivas Pandit served as the headquarters of Gauranga's Sankirtan movement. The daily Bhagavatam classes, nightly kirtans, and many confidential Braj pastimes of Lord Gaur Rai occurred here. Srivas Pandit and Sri Advaitacharya, the learned chiefs of the Brahmin community, dedicated all their energy to the Lord's Harinam Sankirtan movement. They surrendered their bodies, minds, homes, friends, family, and all possession to Lord Gaur's service. They knew no other gods or goddesses. Srivas Pandit maintained his family, not because they were his relatives, but because they were Sri Chaitanya's loving servants. So again, this beautiful mood and just imagining the family connection, the relationships, the emotions, the warmth, camaraderie, and faithfulness, like the lack of doubt. And, Srivas just, laughing at this law, like you're going to stop the Lord's purpose. It's just not going to happen, right? And he knew that. So this faith and that mood that must have existed here and wanting to be a part of that and begging, when we're doing our devotional service and when we're chanting the Maha Mantra and, performing the different devotional activities that we're performing of thinking of building this relationship, constantly reminding ourselves that we have this opportunity to have this intimate, loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why Prabhupada came, was to make us persons, to make us personal, personalists versus impersonalists, which is what this whole world is about. It's about separatism. It's about judgment. It's about designations, and boundaries and all these different things and duality. But Prabhupada brought it to bring everybody together in this loving relationship as servants. Srivas Pandit represents the marginal living entity, Tatashta Jiva. The devotees headed by Srivas are described as Lord Chaitanya's smaller limbs, his eyes, his face, hands, disc, and other weapons. They all took part in Sri Gaurasundar's pastimes, so it's an army of devotees who are considered part of his body or his limbs. With them, Lord Gauranga spread the Sankirtan movement. Srivas Pandit is Narada Muni, an intergalactic preacher and constant associate of the Lord. His samadhi is in the 64 samadhis area. Srivas Pandit, fifth member of the Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas Hari, Gaura Bhaktivinoda lived in Napadweep before the advent of Lord Chaitanya. Srivas led his brothers. Oh, this is already a repeat. So sorry. So we'll go into a little bit of the biography. There's some beautiful verses that I wanted to read that are from the different Vedas, like the Gorda Ganadesh Deepika, the Bhakti Ratnakara, all these different things. So some beautiful quotes and verses that will emphasize all the different relationships and pastimes that are happening and the importance of these great personalities like Srivas. Asaryato vivritastarya sa sankshipya vilikyate Bhaktarupa Gora Chandro yato Saunanda Nandana Bhakta Sarupo Nityanando Vrajaya Sri Hala Yuddha Bhakta Vatara Acharyo Dvaito Yo Ya Shri Sadai Shivaha Bhaktakya Srinivasadya Yataste Bhakta Rupina Bhakta Shakti Dvijagranya Ganya Sri Gadadara Panditaha. I shall now summarily explain the meaning of these words. In this Panchatattva, the Bhakti Rupa form of devotee is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who formerly appeared as Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. The Bhakta Swarup, devotional incarnation, is Lord Nityananda, who formerly appeared in Vrajabhumi as Lord Balaram. The Bhakta Avatar, devotional manifestation, is Lord Advaita Acharya, who is non-different from Sadashiva. The Bhaktiya, pure devotee, is Srinivas, and other great devotees as well. The Bhakta Shakti, devotional energy, is Gadadhar Pandit, the foremost of Brahmanas. And this is from the Gauraganadesh Divika. Shri Vishvambara Dvaita Nityananda Vadutaha Atratraya Samuneya Vigraha Prabhavashchate Eko Mahaprabhujyena Shri Chaitanya Dayam Buddhi Prabhudvau Shri Yatau Nitya Nanda Dvaitau Mahashayau Goswamino Vigrascha Te Dvijaja Gadaraha Panchatattva Maka Ete Srinivasa Cha Pandita. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Lord Advaita are all incarnations of the supremely exalted personality of Godhead, and they are all known by the title Prabhu, Master. Among them, Lord Chaitanya, who is an ocean of mercy, is known as Mahaprabhu, the Great Master. And the great personalities, Lord Nityananda and Lord Advaita, are known only as Prabhu, Master. All three are also known as Goswami, Master of the senses. Gadadhar is called by the title Dvij, Brahmana, and Srinivas is called by the title Pandit, learned scholar. These are the titles of the members of the Panchatattva, which is from the Gauraganadesh Dipika 13. O my Lord Gaura Hari, you are the abode of auspiciousness, which is as beautiful as the kirtan of Krishna. You are the ocean of elegance, bestower of constant flow of devotion, and mountain of love, which is as bright as gold. Your beautiful features give soothing relief to the eyes of every living being, and you are mankind's salvation from all kinds of misfortune. You are the center of Lila Vilas and the life of the devotees. Be kind to me. This is from the Bhakti Ratnakara. O my Prabhu, Sri Gopal Bhatt, the bee at the lotus feet of Sri Gaura. You are the sun which destroys the darkness of illusion, the ocean of kindness, and the greatness of all the Brahmanas. You are the son of Sri Venkatabat, and a valuable ornament of divine love and devotion. You are the destroyer of worldly miseries, and a resort of happiness to the misery-stricken people. O Lord, save me. O my Prabhu, Srila Gopal Bhatt, a bee at the lotus feet like the feet of Mahaprabhu, you are the most skillful devotee of the Lord. O my Prabhu, Srinivas, whose complexion is as golden as Sri Sachinandana, you are the king amongst all the Brahmanas. Please bless me. I constantly worship the companions of Srinivas Prabhu, who is like the wishing tree of devotional love of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So again, as I'm reading this and as we're hearing about these great personalities, think about what it means to hear about them and to associate with them. And the fact that just simply hearing about them has that potential for changing our consciousness and changing our heart and reconnecting us to Krishna. And thinking about, as we're going, if we have different challenges within devotional life, thinking about this, Srivas Prabhu is like a wishing tree of devotional love of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And so we can pray to these devotees on these auspicious days of their of appearance and disappearances, to understanding, that they are like the wishing tree of devotional service, and pray at their lotus feet to become a servant of Lord Chaitanya and his Sankirtan movement, to become a servant of the devotees, to become a servant of our spiritual master, of Srila Prabhupada, of the deities, of Krishna, and really with our deepest, connection and most um, personal, in the most personal way that we can, reach out to these great devotees and ask them for their mercy, because they're not dead. They're still living and sound, and they're um, able to hear our desires and answer our prayers in our hearts, right? And can affect our devotional service greatly, by taking shelter of them when we do our devotional service. My dear listeners, please repeatedly and joyfully hear the Bhakti Ratnakara, which is the life of all Vaishnavas and the destroyer of all misfortunes and miseries. Sri Gadadhar is an expansion of Radharani, and Srinivas is the expansion of Narada Muni, or in other words, they are the internal and the devotional energy, respectively. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada on the 27th of May, 1970, letter to Tamal Krishna. So again, these personalities are real. Srivas Pandito Diman Yapura Narado Munihi Purvakakyo Munivaro Yasin Narada Priyaha Sarama Pandita Srimas Tat Kanishta Saha Doroho. Intelligent Srinivas Pandit had previously been Narada Muni, the best of the sages. Srivas's younger brother, Sriman Ram Pandit, had previously been Narada Muni's close friend Parvata Muni. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, the Vyasadeva of Sri Gaurasundar's pastimes, has sung the praises of Srivas Pandit in this way. It was in Srivas Pandit's house that Sri Chaitanya enacted his pastimes of Sankirtan. Those four brothers, Srivas, Sriram, Sripati, and Srinidhi, were continuously engaged in singing the names of Sri Krishna. They worshipped Sri Krishna and bathed in the Ganges thrice daily. These four brothers previously lived in the district of Srihata. Later on, they came to reside on the banks of the Ganges. There they regularly used to attend the assembly of devotees who gathered at Sri Advaitacharya's house to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam engage in congregational chanting of the holy names. Gradually, the brothers became very close to Sri Jagannath Mishra, with whom they would chant and listen to the Bhagavatam. So again, thinking about this in our own devotional life, as we're coming together to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, as we come to hear Krishna Katha, and inculcating this and, like pouring nectar over ourselves. I mean, it's really listening to the pastimes and about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his associates, and taking that into our devotional life is really, just like pouring honey or, some kind of nectar all over ourselves, and coating ourselves and bathing ourselves in the nectar of devotional service. And we can't help but be, flavored by that in our hearts when we take it seriously, and we take it and we lick it and we taste it, and we taste this devotional service with our heart and with our soul, and then it becomes real. And then then Krishna reveals himself, and it's for me, what this brought up is this reminder of how important it is to be attentive and not inattentive, and to really be introspective about how I can enliven my devotional service, and not just because I've mentioned this so many times in classes that I'm a very type A personality. It's like, get all these things done. I'll almost get everything done before I'll do anything devotional so that it'll be out of the way so I can focus. But it's really about learning it, to drop. It's important to do our devotional service, it's important to do our duty, but it's more important to have a relationship with the holy names and our devotional service and our relationship with the spiritual master, because that's what's going to carry us and open that door of true realization to Krishna, which is giving our hearts. We have to give our hearts. So, in all matters, Srivas was the leader of the four brothers. By the strength of his devotion, he could understand that Sri Krishna was going to appear in the house of Jagannath Mishra. So, again, understanding this process of Krishna consciousness is a process of hearing and chanting, but realization. That's what makes this process real, is realization. Srivas Pandit's wife's name was Sri Malini Devi. She was very close friends with Sri Sati Devi and was always very helpful to her. Seeing the wretched state of the fallen living entities in Kali Yuga, the devotees began to plaintively pray to the Lord for their deliverance. Krishna hears the call of his devotees. On the full moon day in the month of Falgun, in the year of 1407, which is 1486 in the Christian era, the Lord incarnated himself. With his appearance, there was the simultaneous dawning of all auspiciousness within the world as it became filled with Hari Nam. Just as Sri Advaitacharya from Shantipur could understand that the Lord had appeared, similarly Srivas and some of the other devotees of Navadvip also understood. So just imagine the mood in Navadvip, huh? Since previously Malini Devi was engaged in attending upon Sachidev. So imagine these interpersonal relationships again. This is real. It's not just a story. These are real personalities that have a real relationship. So Srivas and Jagannath Mishra came to her at this time and hinted that she was especially needed now. As long as the Lord chooses not to reveal himself, no one can possibly recognize him. Therefore, even though from his childhood the Lord exhibited many supernatural abilities, still, due to his deluding potency, the devotees could not fully understand his true nature. Their hearts were simply filled with parental affection. And again, that's what it comes back down to, is this internal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their hearts were simply filled with parental affection, without a trace of awe and reverence. So, again, these personal relationships and having book knowledge and massive amounts of intelligence are great, but it's really about what you get. What are you getting out of that? What's the essence that you're obtaining from reading all the Vedic literatures? It's about having, some affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srinivas and Malini gave Sachidev and Jagannath much advice on how to raise their new son. Srivas and Malini were just like a mother and father to Sri Gaurasundar. Because young Nimai Pandit seemed to have grown arrogant and by his scholarship, one day Srivas Pandit decided to give him good counsel. Why do people study? So that they might understand what is the devotion to Sri Krishna, he told Nimai. If by scholarship one doesn't gain devotion to Sri Krishna, then how will that learning help him? It becomes simply a tedious endeavor, which in the end is nothing but a waste of time. If you have actually learned something, then begin your worship of Sri Krishna now. Make haste. This is the purpose of life. Nimai laughed as he replied, by your mercy, certainly that will come to be. If you are all kind enough for me, then definitely I'll attain devotion to Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Shortly thereafter, Mahaprabhu journeyed to Gaya, where he performed the pastimes of accepting initiation from Sri Ishwarapuri. Thus, gradually, he began to take up his real work of distributing loving devotion to Sri Krishna, which is our real work too, actually. Following in the footsteps is really important, which is, again, why we hear these great personalities in their lives. One day, in an ecstatic mood, Lord Gauranga entered Srivas' house, asking, Srivas, whom do you worship? Whom do you meditate upon? Now, with your own two eyes, see that person standing before you. That's from the Majja 258. Saying this, Mahaprabhu entered the deity room within Srivas's home temple and sat down on the Shingasana of Lord Vishnu, revealing his own four-armed form, holding the conch, dish club, and lotus flower. Seeing this form, Srivas was totally stupefied. Sri Gauranga, Sri Gaurasundar then said, due to being called by your Sankirtan and the loud roaring of Sri Advaitacharya, I have left Vaikuntha and have descended upon this mortal world, accompanied by my eternal associates, who will destroy the miscreants and deliver the pious. Now, without fear, you can chant my glory. And just think about that. I guess for me, I'm a very visual person, so I'm thinking about how Gaurasundra, you've got Lord, or Sri Advaitacharya, you know, roaring and begging for the Lord to come, and then the Lord comes and he touches the earth. We're on this same earth that Lord Gaurasundar walked upon, that Sri Krishna walked upon. Do you know how fortunate that is? That's just like, it's just mind blowing when you really think about it, how it just totally shifts everything. Hearing these words of his Lord, which dispelled all fear, Srivas fell on the ground, offering his obeisance. Thus he began to recite hymns in praise of the Lord. My obeisances at the lotus feet are the support of the entire universe, Vishrambar, whose bodily color is like that of a newly arrived rain cloud, and wore garments which are the color of a thunderbolt. My obeisances at the lotus feet of the son of Sachi, who is bedecked with ornaments of peacock feathers and a garland of reed beads. Gunjamala, thank you. My obeisances at the feet of the pupil of Gangadas, the beauty of whose lotus feet conquers that of 10 million moons. My obeisances at your lotus feet, you who carry a buffalo horn, stick, and flute. The four Vedas have proclaimed you to be the son of Nanda. Unto you, my dear Lord, my obeisances I offer again and again. And that's the heart of a devotee, is continually offering obeisances over and over and over again, because we're so overwhelmed by the humility of the fact that the Lord would actually, serve his servant. That's ultimately, not in that place now, but of just, the pure devotee, just like that scholar or the Brahmana who wasn't, literate, and, just so overwhelmed and crying because of the fact that, Sri Krishna was willing to take on the position of a Shudra and drive for Arjuna, and, and thinking about, just being so overwhelmed by the mercy and love that the Lord has for his pure devotees, right? So my obeisances, okay. Today, my birth, my activities, my everything has become successful. Today, my very existence has been crowned with the greatest auspiciousness. Today, the race of my forefathers has finally borne fruit, and my house, which was also their house, has become blessed. Today, the great fortune of my eyes is completely beyond calculation, because I have been able to see that person whose lotus feet are served by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. Having described the glories of Sri Gaurasundar in this way, Sri Gaurasundar showed even more compassion to Srivas by revealing himself to all of his family members. Seeing the niece of Srivas Pandit present before him, Prabhu called to her, Narayani, call upon Sri Krishna with tears in your eyes. And immediately this little girl, only 4 years of age, as if in a delirious frenzy, began to cry out, Hare Krishna, while shedding tears incessantly. In fact, the flood of tears coursed down her body to such an extent that the ground around her feet became soaked. This is in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Majja 2. Seeing little Narayani totally agitated in ecstatic love, Srivasa's wife and even the household servants also began to shed tears of love. The courtyard of Srivas on a very beautiful appearance, being decorated with ecstatic love for Krishna. And we can even have this in the association of great devotees. I remember um, when I was first coming to Krishna consciousness, one of the first places that I went um, was to California, and I had the opportunity to have the association of uh, Hridayananda Das Goswami. One of the things that I so distinctly remember was walking in, and I'm still new at this point. You know, I'd had the association through yoga class of a devotee who was teaching. I had gone out. I hadn't been to the temple here. I really didn't, I knew some about, I'd been on a beach trip with some of the ladies for a ladies' trip, to get introduced to Krishna consciousness, but I'd never really been to a temple. And then I remember walking in, and I remember looking at the far end and seeing Srila Prabhupada, and just was overwhelmed with tears, and I just couldn't stop crying. And it's not that I'm special, it's that Srila Prabhupada's special. And so again, these tears of ecstasy, it just shows how dynamic and again, how personally this can touch the heart, and why, again, it's so important to be in the association of these great devotees, even by hearing. Um, so there was one maidservant in Srinivas Pandit's house by the name of Tuki. Every day she used to bring water from the Ganga for Mahaprabhu's bath. One day Gaurasundar asked Srivas, "Who brings this water?" "Duki brings it," Srivas replied. "From today her name is Suki." Thus the Lord indicated that those who serve the Lord and the Lord's devotees are not Duki, sad, rather they are Suki, happy. At this time, Sri Gaurasundar began his Leela as the Yuga avatar at the house of Srivas Pandit. Having been reunited with Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he started congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names in the courtyard of Srivasa's house. Nityananda Prabhu took up his residence there. Sri Malini Devi served Nityananda as though he were her own son. Sri Nityananda was actually Sri Baladev himself, and in his pastimes as Lord Nityananda, he behaved somewhat like a madman. He was always overwhelmed by love of Krishna and was not aware of the state of his outward dress or ornaments. One evening, Sri Gaurasundar, accompanied by associates, was engaged in chanting and dancing at the house of Srivas Thakur when one of Srivas Thakur's son passed away after having suffered the effects of some disease. Within the inner apartment of the house, the women began to wail in lamentation at the boy's untimely death. Srivas Pandit, who was outside in the courtyard, understood some tragedy must have taken place. He quickly entered the house, only to find that his son had passed away on to the next world. As he was a very grave devotee and completely conversant in the science of the absolute truth, he was able to console the women in their grief. You are all aware of Krishna's glory, so please restrain yourselves and don't cry. Whoever during his last moments hears the holy name, even though he might be the greatest sinner, attains Krishna's abode. And that incomparably wonderful Lord, whose glories are sung by all his servants up to and including Lord Brahma, is now personally dancing in the courtyard of your house. And again, this reminds me of a personal experience that I was able to be with my grandmother when she was leaving her body. And there was all this back and forth, and I kept praying, please let everybody leave the room. So when everybody leaves the room, I can chant for her, because I still felt awkward about it. And Krishna just wouldn't make that arrangement. And so finally, I was able to be by her side, chanting in her ear for the last 45 minutes of her body as she left her body, and that last breath, and watching that whole process. And how, even though she was a meat eater, and even though, she was the wife of a minister, so she led a pretty religious life, to be certain, but still, whoever in their last moments hear the Lord's holy name, attains Krishna's abode. And I'm not saying that she went back to Godhead. She probably has, some more lives to work things out, as I do. But still, the mercy and the blessing of the chanting of the holy names, it's not just these words. It's amazing So, um, and how we have the opportunity to affect our own life and others' lives through this chanting and the Sankirtan movement. This moment is so auspicious that it is sure this boy has successfully completed his journey from this world. Is there anything to be lamented in this? His good fortune is completely assured. I can understand that whatever part I have played in this is also crowned with success. So it's crowned. Anybody that has the association of the holy names, Prabhupada, this process of Krishna consciousness is crowned with success. He concluded by telling them, if you can't control your emotions because of your family affection to the boy, then at least don't cry now. You can cry later. The Supreme Lord of Gokul himself, Sri Gaurasundar, is performing Sankirtan accompanied by his devotees in this house. If, due to your crying, the happiness that he has experienced from dancing in ecstasy during Sankirtan is disturbed, then I will just this minute jump into the Ganges and thus give up my life. Not a blade of grass moves unless by Krishna's will. To see in this happiness or distress or knowledge or ignorance is simply imagination. Now know that whatever Krishna's will is good, and thus giving up your own selfish desires, become free from confusion and unnecessary botherations. Krishna is giving and Krishna is taking away, and it is Krishna alone who is maintaining everyone. Someone he protects and someone he destroys, all according to his will. If someone contemplates something contrary to Krishna's will, then as a result of his desire, he will only get torment. Giving up all lamentation, simply hear Krishna's name, and thus pass through all difficulties, feeling great happiness. Then your desires will actually be fulfilled. Having given all these instructions to those present, Srinivas again went outside to join Mahaprabhu in ecstatic chanting and dancing. The women, leaving the dead body, came to hear the kirtan of Mahaprabhu, and so Mahaprabhu continued his chanting until the middle of the night. When everyone was at last leaving to take rest, Mahaprabhu spoke. Today my mind is feeling some tribulation. I think some sad event has occurred in Srinivas's house. The Pandit replied, what possible unhappiness could there be in that person's house where your divinely blissful countenance is seen? Srivas, why wasn't I feeling bliss in kirtan today? What an auspicious thing transpired in your house. Srivas answered, my lord, you are yourself all auspicious. Where you are present, no sorrow can be found anywhere. But the other devotees informed the Lord that Srivas's son had passed away. Hearing this news, Gora Rai cried out, alas, what a tragic event. Why didn't you tell me of this unfortunate news? I will explain. So what goes on to happen, and we're close to the end of class, and it reminds me too, is that, the Lord has a personal interest in our lives. It's not that we're just stone cold, non-emotional, non-feeling, impersonalists. We're personalists. And Lord Chaitanya took an interest and had great, care about his devotee. And, wants us, to realize this and understand, yes, the philosophy is important and all the different attributes of that. But most important is having this loving, affectionate, reciprocative relationships and caring for each other as we progress in our devotional life. And through that caring and service, through personal service, personalism, we obtain Krishna's mercy and his lotus feet. So all glories to Srivas Pandit, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Association of the Devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda Ki Jai. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's just so amazing. Please.
No Vihinam Adi Purusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Enam Kanvanda Maravindanalaya Tartam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Kandar Vidamaniya Kishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Andani yasa sakalen Kriya Pritimanti Vasyam Vipa Vikayanti Kira Vedanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadu Jala Vikrasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Tamaham bhajami Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami
Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore Toma Bina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare Toma Bina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Mosama Patita Prabhu Napaibe Ara Mosama Patita Prabhu Napaibe Ara Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Suki Ripa Bolo Kana Koro Ami Boroduki Ripa Bolo Kana Koro Ami Boroduki Doya Korosita Hati Advaita Gosai Doya Korosita Hati Advaita Gosai Dava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai Dava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai Ha Ha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raguna Sanatana Rupa Raguna Bhattavyuga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanath Mata Yuga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanath Doya Koro Shriya Charya Prabhu Srinivas Doya Koro Shriya Charya Prabhu Srinivas Ramachandra Sangamage Narottam Ramachandra Sangamage Narottam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramore Toma Bina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare Toma Bina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gornitai Jaya Gornitai Jaya Gornitai Jaya Gornitai Jaya Gornitai Gornitai Jaya Gornitai Jaya Gornitai Haribo Haribo Jaya Panchatattva 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 Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radha Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai, Shri Shri Nivas Thakur ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribo. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a more fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. I pray for the mercy of Swarup Damodar, the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and Lokanath Prabhu. I, Narottam Das, pray to the merciful Srinivasacharya, and I always desire the company of Ramachandra Kavira. Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Chaito Darpana Marjanam Bhav. Jivanam Anandam Buri Vardhanam Padipanam Sarvanastapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bauda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaivam Idrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinada Pi Sunichena Tarora Pi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamae Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoite Ki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vapata Pankaja Stita Duli Satrishim Vachintaya Nayanam Galashudaraya Yananam Yadira Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tava Namagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahena Me Ashlisha Vapadamritam Radastumam Adarshanam Marmahatakarotuva Yatatata Vavintolam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Evanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational channeling of your holy name can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate to have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly? Chant your holy name. When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall send, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Shastika Ki Jai. And a big happy birthday to Apurva Prabhu. Haribo. Haribo.